Happy Friday and welcome to this week's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young and I have a whole lot to cover, so I'll get right to it. Starting with hockey, the Stanley Cup Finals have been somewhat shocking. I say this because, if you remember, I predicted Edmonton and their high-powered offense would raise the Stanley Cup this season. But the Florida Panthers have absolutely dominated the Oilers so far. In Game 1 on Saturday, Florida goalie Sergei Bobrovsky made 32 saves for the Panthers, who defeated the Oilers 3-0. The Panthers scored early in the first period, again in the second, and closed out the game on an empty net goal in the third. Edmonton showed some life to start Game 2. Mattias Ekholm scored the game's first goal, and the Oilers' first goal of the finals, in the first period, jumping out to a 1-0 lead. But that would be the end of the scoring for the Oilers for the night. Florida would go on to score 4 unanswered goals, including 2 back-to-back from Evan Rodriguez, and the Panthers went on to win Game 2 4-1. Teams that lead a best-of-7 Stanley Cup playoff series 2-0 have a series record of 352 wins and 56 losses, or roughly 86%. In the final, only 5 of 54 teams have overcome a 2-0 deficit to win. So, all that to say, the odds are heavily against the Oilers, but the series isn't over just yet. Games 1 and 2 were at home for the Panthers in Sunrise, Florida. Games 3 and 4 head to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That's a travel distance of about 2,541 miles, which is the largest distance between two teams in a Stanley Cup final. On top of the distance, the drastic change in time zones is a huge factor as well. Game 3 on Thursday at Rogers Place in Edmonton marked the first time this postseason that the Panthers have played a game outside of the Eastern time zone. It's a drastic contrast compared to the Oilers, who have played games in the East, Central, Mountain, and Pacific time zones. But all the travel and time changes didn't affect Florida as they picked up another win in Game 3 and are now just one win away from earning their first ever Stanley Cup. The crucial Game 4 will be back in Edmonton tomorrow at 5 p.m. on ABC. The start of the NBA Finals was fairly similar to the NHL. The Boston Celtics breezed past the Dallas Mavericks in Game 1, winning 107-89. Boston was up by 29 points in the first half, and they were led by Jaylen Brown, who scored 22 points, as well as Kristaps Porzingis, who made an immediate impact off the bench and added 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 blocks. The Celtics also hit 16 three-pointers in this game and clearly just dominated up and down the floor. Just like Edmonton did in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals, the Mavericks opened Game 2 looking strong. The lead was swapping back and forth during the first half, and Dallas was down by just 3 points at the start of the second half. But despite Luka Doncic putting up his 10th playoff triple-double with 32 points, 11 assists, and 11 rebounds, the Celtics managed to run away with the game. Drew Holiday led Boston with 26 points and 11 rebounds, and Derek White saved the game after he sprinted down the court to swat away the Mavericks' last chance at a lead late in the fourth. The Celtics held on to win 105-98 and quickly jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Game 3 was Wednesday night, and for the first quarter, Dallas seemed like they might run away with a blowout win. They were making virtually every shot and quickly jumped out to a double-digit lead. Kyrie Irving finally had a solid performance for Dallas, scoring 35 points, which supplemented Luka Doncic's 27 points. But it still wasn't enough to hold back the Celtics. Jason Tatum scored 31, Jaylen Brown had 30, and the Celtics held off a furious Dallas rally to move to the verge of a record 18th championship with a 106-99 victory. It was close, as Boston was very close to blowing a 21-point lead with 11 minutes left in the game, but the Celtics are now just one game away from completing the sweep. Game 4 will be back in Dallas tonight at 5:30 p.m. on ABC. I selfishly hope both Dallas and Edmonton can pick up wins this weekend, just because I don't want either final series to end too early and I can still have some sports to watch. I've said it in previous years, but May, June, and July are truly the months of champions. Obviously, both NBA and NHL champion will be crowned shortly, but in college, there are some major champions as well. In the world of college softball, a dynasty team continues to set records. The Oklahoma Sooners have achieved softball immortality. Oklahoma is the winner of the 2024 Women's College World Series, sweeping rival Texas in the championship series to become the first school to win 4 consecutive softball national championships. It was the offense that powered Oklahoma to an 8-3 win in Game 1 on Wednesday, and Thursday's Game 2, Oklahoma rallied to an 8-4 victory to take down the #1 team in the country. Just last season, they set the NCAA record for most consecutive wins and had a near-perfect season at 61-1 as they dominated their way to softball's second three-peat. Oklahoma then lost ace pitcher Jordy Ball to the transfer portal, and their record winning streak finally ended earlier this season at 71 straight games. For the first time since 2018, the Sooners weren't the #1 seed in the NCAA tournament, but they breezed through the tournament, losing just one game to Florida en route to their title. All 8 of their national championships under current coach Patty Gasso have come since 2000, and they've now won 7 of the last 11 Women's College World Series while appearing in the last 5 championships. 5 standout Oklahoma seniors, Jada Coleman, Tiara Jennings, Kenzie Hansen, Nicole May, and Riley Boone, were part of every national championship during that four-peat, a 4-year run that saw the Sooners go an astonishing 235-15. We may never see a more historic or dominant run like this in all sports for a very long time. For the Men's College Baseball World Series, the bracket begins today with a matchup of Virginia and North Carolina at 11 a.m. and Florida State versus Tennessee at 4 p.m. Be sure to tune in throughout the entirety of the World Series tournament, as every year these games are high-scoring and absolutely electric. Now, time to cover a sport I don't think I've ever even mentioned in the 112 episodes of this show: cricket. About a week ago, the USA caused an enormous, historic shock after they defeated Pakistan in a super over during the ICC Men's T20 Cricket World Cup at Grand Prairie Cricket Stadium in Dallas, Texas. Pakistan had reached the finals in the last Cricket World Cup and were heavy favorites over the Americans. While the sport is, in comparison, closest to baseball, teams in cricket score significantly more runs than in baseball. And the US piled up 159 runs against Pakistan to tie the score after the 20 overs were completed and then won in a super over. I'm not 100% sure what all that means, but I understand it's basically the equivalent of winning in extra innings in baseball. The US national cricket team played its first match back in 1844, but the popularity of the sport declined rapidly. However, it's clearly making a comeback and is back on the program for the 2028 Olympic Games here in LA. So, hopefully the US will continue winning matches and be in the running for a medal in a few years. To end the show, unfortunately, for the second time in the past few weeks, the sports world has lost another basketball legend. Jerry West passed away earlier this week at the age of 86. After being drafted by the Lakers 2nd overall back in 1960, West played 14 years and was an All-Star 14 times and made All-NBA a dozen times. He averaged 27 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 6.7 assists for his career. At the time of his retirement in 1974, he was the franchise leading scorer with 25,192 points. He was widely regarded as one of the best defensive players in history as well. Even though the NBA didn't recognize steals as an official stat until his final season, he averaged 2.6 steals per game that season. The all-defensive teams also weren't selected until 1968, which was 5 years before he retired. In those 5 years, he was named to the first team 4 times and the second team once. In 1969, he was named the first, and still the only player, on the losing team to win MVP for the NBA Finals. He was a member of the stellar U.S. men's Olympic team in 1960 and won a gold medal in Rome while sharing the captain honors with Oscar Robertson. In the 1965 playoffs, West averaged 40.6 points per game. As a player, he won his only NBA championship in 1972. Like I said, West retired in 1974, but stayed with the Lakers, first as a coach for 3 seasons, then a scout, and finally the GM. The Lakers won 5 championships in the 1980s with West in the front office and introduced excitement and style with their Showtime approach to winning and entertainment. West was then responsible for bringing the Lakers back into prominence by bringing in Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, who led the Lakers to 3 straight titles. After his career with the Lakers, West then helped the Warriors win 3 titles in 4 years, while he was a big part of their front office and building the team with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And, as probably his biggest accomplishment, Jerry West is literally the NBA logo. Jerry West will be remembered for his competitiveness, drive, wisdom of the sport of basketball, and how he cared for everyone he encountered both on and off the court. He'll be missed deeply by friends, family, and fans all across the world. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.